welcome back. In today's class we are going to be recreating this is what was sent to me, so I made this. Then I also make another variation which is like this. All right, so if you want to learn how to make this, keep watching. And here are the measurements I use: my gown length and then my bust circumference measurements. That's all. And for this tutorial I use just 3 yards of Ankara fabric, and then I'll be needing stay for the collar part. All right, so the first thing I did was to fold the Ankara fabric into 2. After that, you fold it diagonally like this. You can see you fold it like a triangle like this. So the next thing is to first check for where you can get your bust circumference measurement divided by 4 with your allowance. That's the first step. Once you are able to locate that point, you roll it into a straight line. Then after that, from that line you measure upward your armhole length. Because it's going to be a sleeveless dress, I'm going to subtract ½ inch for my armhole length. My armhole usually is 9, but for this one I use 8.5. So I measure the 8.5 upward, then I make another line. All right, so from this new line you measure 3.5 neck width. I use 3.5 for the neck width because it's going to have a collar. So that is the neck width. So for the neck depth for the back I use 1 inch, and for the front I also use 3.5. Then the next thing is to connect these points together. So first connect it to the back neckline this way. Then after that you connect it to the front neckline. So this is the back neck depth and this is the front neck depth, and the width is 3.5. All right, so now you're going to be doing the most important part of this tutorial. First you measure the neckline. First measure the back neckline, then after that you measure the front neckline. It's very important. All right, so when I measured mine here, I got 4.2 for the back. That is the back. Then for the front I got 6.2. So you have to sum the two of them together, sum the back and the front together. That will give me 10.5, so I'll keep it aside. So the next thing you want to do, from the tip of the neckline you come inside by 1 inch like this. 1 inch. Can you see? So from this 1 inch you are going to connect it to your actual measurement, not your allowance. I added 1 inch allowance to the bust circumference, so you connect it to the actual measurement. If you like, you can use the curved part of the ruler. If you like, you can roll it straight. This totally depends on how you want it. Last but not the least, the next is to measure down. Starting from this line, you measure down the length of your gown. I'm making my gown length to be 41 inches, so I'm going to add 1 inch allowance to it. That will be 42 inches. So I'll measure 42 inches. So the next thing now is to go back to the tip of your triangle, and then you measure down to where you have your length measurement. Whatever the answer is, you will rotate it so that you can cut out the flare. Keep rotating it. So don't forget to also roll it from your bust allowance down to the M. So from where your allowance is, roll it straight down. That is your side seam. So the next thing for me now is to cut it out. So first I'll cut it at the bottom part. After that, I'll cut on the back neckline. Then I'll cut the armhole side. Just be following your chalk. First, before I continue cutting, I'll notch where my actual measurement stops. Then I'll cut from the allowance all the way down to the M. If you're going to be putting pockets, you notch where the position of your pocket is going to be as well. I'm putting pockets on mine. So the next thing you want to do now is to remove the inner layer that is going to be for the back so that you can reshape the front neckline. But before then, let's quickly cut facing for the armhole. You know I like facing. So fold another fabric into 4. Place it underneath the fabric like this, such that it will cover the whole armhole. Then you can trace the shape of the armhole. So the facing is going to stop 2 inches at the side seam. That is the side seam. Make sure it follows the way the neckline is. All right, so all around the facing is 3 inches. Then you blend it this way. If you don't want facing for the armhole, you can also use bias to finish the armhole. So this is the facing for the armhole. Now that is done, you keep it aside. Then, like I said earlier, remove the inner layer. That is going to be for the back. Then you now reshape the neckline for the front. You will cut the neckline for the front. So when you're done, you can keep the front aside. You're done with the front, keep it aside. Then you bring back the back. This is the back. All right, this is the back. The next thing you want to do, starting from the neckline like this, you're going to measure 5 inches downward. So from the center of the neckline, you will slit it all the way to that 5 inches mark. So this is to allow us to create a button at the back so that it can be easy for us to wear the clothes. All right, so that is the slit. But you also need facing for the slit. So cut out facing for the slit. So I cut out a strip of fabric that is longer than the length of the slit by 3 inches. So I place it underneath, or you just fold it into 2. The width of this strip is 3.5 inches. The width of the strip is 3.5 inches. So you slit it at the middle like that. That is going to be for the facing. So you keep this aside, you can see. All right, so moving on, the next thing you want to cut out is the collar. So for the collar, you're going to be folding the fabric into 4 like this. I already have a detailed tutorial on how you can cut this type of collar. So you remember that your measurements that you measure around the neckline, this one here, that we sum together. You know, when I summed mine, I got 10.5. So that 10.5, multiply it by 2, that will give me 21 inches. So the neck circumference is going to be 21 inches. So you divide that by 4 and then you rotate it. Then after that, you measure the height of the collar. I also detailed in that video. Please kindly watch that video to have an in-depth knowledge of how to cut this type of collar. The link will be in the description box, or you click on the screen. So this is the collar. We have 2 pieces, one will line the other. All right, so I folded another fabric into 4 and I use it to cut out my pocket. Pocket is optional, but I always like all those free dresses with pockets. Alright, so here's the summary. This is the front body. Here is the back. Here's the collar, and then here is the facing. We have 4 facings for the armhole. We also have the facing for the back of the dress, this part. This is the facing for this part. So we're going to be sewing our dress now. So the first thing is to conceal the raw edges of all the facings. So you fold 1/4 inch and then you stitch on it. Let me start with the back facing. Then facings for the armhole. Alright, so we are done with the facing. So the next thing is to attach the facing to the back neckline. So match the right side of the facing together with the right side of the dress, and then you sew along the slit. Then after sewing, you're going to notch at the center very close to your seam, but don't cut your seam. Then you turn the facing to the wrong side, and then you iron. Then after that, you place the armhole facing on the armhole as well. You match the right side together with the right side, and then you stitch on it. You know, we have 4 armhole, 2 in front and 2 at the back. So place the facing and then you stitch accordingly. Alright, so after stitching, you are going to notch very close to your seam, but don't cut your seam. Then after that, you iron the facing to the wrong side. And when you're done with the back, you do the same thing to the front. And you can also use bias to finish the armhole like I did in this second one. I actually made 2, the same cutting, the same everything. The only thing difference is that I did not attach collar to this one because I love the way the red one fits beautifully well on my body, but it's something I would like to be wearing at home, and then I don't think I'll be so comfortable tacking collar while staying at home always. So I decided to make this one without the collar. I only use bias to finish the neckline and the armhole. So if you want to see how I sewed this one after making the red, I'm going to show you, so keep watching. Alright, so after attaching my facing, this is how my dress is looking. The raw edges of the armhole is already concealed, and the neckline for the back also. You can see I pushed the facing to the wrong side and then I iron it. You can put hemi gum underneath it so that it can remain permanently there. Alright, so this is the back, and I've done the same thing to the front. So the next thing you want to do now is to attach your pocket if you are going to be putting pockets like I did. So you're going to attach the pocket to the 4 sides of the dress at the point where you have your pocket notching. So this is the front. You can see the raw edges of the armhole is already concealed. So what I'm going to do next is to place the back on top of it, right side facing each other, and then I'm going to close the side using 1 inch seam allowance because I added 1 inch seam allowance to it. So after closing the side, the next thing is to hem the bottom part of your dress. So you're going to be folding it 2 times. Fold once and then you fold again the second time, then you're going to make your stitch. Alright, so here is the collar. For the collar, you are going to be fusing stay on the collar first. So have you stay on the wrong side of the collar, the two of them? So the next thing you want to do is to fold ½ inch upward like this, and then you use iron to press it down. You do it all around the collar, the two of them. So the next thing you want to do is to place the two of them together, right side to right side. The right side will be facing each other, and then you are going to stitch the neckline together. You sew this part together coming this way, but before then we need to create a button loop because it's going to have it's going to have button at the back. So I just cut a tiny piece of bias, then I'm going to stitch it together to create the loop for the button. So I'm going to do it this way. I'll fold the bias together like this, and then I'll place it on one end of the collar like this, coming down from the upper part by ½ inch. Then you stitch it like so. So when that is done, you take the second side and place it on it. Right side will be facing each other. Then starting from this end, you sew it all around. Then after that, you notch all around, cutting very close to the seam, but you are not going to cut your seam. Then after that, you turn it to the right side. Turn it to the right side, and then you iron. All right, so I've ironed mine, and this is how it's looking. So the next thing now is to attach it to the body of the dress. Please pay attention to this part because I think this is the most difficult part of this tutorial. It's the style is very simple, but this part here is the most important aspect of it. So you can see this is how it's looking after ironing. So the next thing now is to attach it to the neckline of the dress. All right, so this is the collar. What you're going to do is just to sandwich the neckline to the collar, and that's all. So first locate the center of the front neckline and also the center of the collar, then you pin together like this. Then you push it inside again, just ½ inch, please. Push it inside like that, and then you pin this way. Then go to the other end of the front neckline as well, push it in ½ inch, push ½ inch in, and then you pin. Then what you are going to do is just to stitch it together like this. So this way you have sandwiched the neckline inside the collar. So just stop stitch it. So when that is done, this is the way it's looking, and then from the wrong side, this is the way it's looking also. So the next thing now is to attach the collar to the back. So turn it to the back like this. Then you are going to also sandwich the back neckline inside the collar. So just look at the way I'm doing it. So just push the back inside the collar. It should not be more than ½ inch, please. Then you pin it. Let the center of the center back of the collar, let it align with the slit that you have at the center back of the dress. Then you pin. Then you will also do the second side like that also. Please kindly pay attention to the direction of the collar so that you don't twist the collar. So push the neckline inside the collar again this way. It shouldn't be more than ½ inch inside. Then you are going to pin as well. So the next thing now is to stitch it. So when you are stitching it this time around, you will stitch it all around till you get back to the other side of the collar. Can you see? So we are going to be doing that now. So the reason why we stitch the front first is because we want it to align properly. So that's the reason. So I'm done stitching and this is how it's looking. So the next thing is to attach button to the second side of the collar. So tack your button and then you are good to go. And that's it. Your dress is ready. So keep watching. I'm going to show you how I made the second dress. Alright, so the cutting is exactly the same thing, the same way we cut the red one that we just finished, and then this is it. The only thing is that I use bias to pipe the armhole. So I place my bias at the right side of the dress, then I stitch on it. Then after that, I turn the bias to the wrong side, then I top stitch. So you do the same thing for the first side of the armhole. I also use bias to pipe the slit at the back neckline. So I place the bias at the right side of the back, and then I make my stitch all around the slit. Then when I'm done, I notch the center of the slit. Then I turn the bias to the wrong side and top stitch. Then after that, I fold it this way at the wrong side, and then I make a tiny little stitch like this so that the V can relax and be sharp. So if you turn it to the right side, this is how it's looking. Alright, so moving on to the most important aspect of it. So I cut out 2 yards of bias, then I locate the center like this. So I match the center together with the center of the front neckline this way. Then I pin it together. Then I work my way to the beginning of the neckline at the armhole side like this. Then starting from that point, I start my stitch. So I stitch it like this. Till I get to the center of the front neckline where I have my pin. I take off my pin and then I continue stitching till I get back to the second side of the neckline at the armhole side in front. So when you get to that point, you take your tape measure. You are going to measure 3.5 inches. Measure 3.5 inches. If you like, you can make it 4. 4 will still be okay, but I measure 3.5 inches like this. Then I go back to the second armhole side in front like this to the other side, I also measure the same 3.5 inches. Then I note that point, and then you are going to be stitching that 3.5 without any fabric inside the bias, plain like that. All right, so I bring the back. This is the back, and don't forget the right side of the dress is facing up right now, so I match the armhole side of the neckline at the back at that point that I put the 3.5 inches marking. Then I continue stitching till I'll get to the slit at the back neckline. Can you see? Can you see? Then you also do the second side like that. So this is where the front neckline stops. You can see that is where the front neckline stops. Then bring the armhole side of the back this way and put it inside the bias. You can jump the 3.5 inches, or you sew along till you get to that 3.5 inches chalk. Then you sandwich the neckline inside the bias like this, and then you continue stitching. When you're doing this second side, the wrong side of the dress will be facing up. And that's it. So what you're going to do is just to continue sewing the bias together till you sew it all. Okay, so at this stage you may want to go back to the 3.5 inches that you left, so that you can close the mouth of the bias together. If you did not stitch it close before inserting the back neckline, you can do that now. And then after that, you close the side of your dress and hem the bottom part, and that's all. So that 3.5 that we jump is the distance between the front neck and the back. I bet you can see my excitement because this dress is so me. I like it. Like, I love it. Yeah, tell me in the comment section, which team did you belong to, the red or the yellow? I think I love the yellow more. That's for me. So let me know your opinion in the comment section. Which one do you like the most? The red one, I mean the one with the collar, or the one with the bias? Yellow or red? Let's vote. Let's vote. Let's vote. You spoil the video. I will not pay your salary. That's why I'm saying money to pay your salary. Oh, is it fine? Okay, by the way guys, I changed my look. I'm no longer on low cut, so I finally started making the hair. Let me know in the comment section if you like my new look. So I'll see you guys some other time. Bye bye.